Hello, a bit of a different video today, much more of a vlog of just what's going on. And I've gone back to using my phone and a selfie stick just so that I can do like a super instant video. It's not going to be a bit moving around, it's going to be a bit unedited, and we will not entirely unedited, but we'll have a bit of a look at what's going on. I'm just going to try and get into the shade a little bit. So today is a super duper hot day here in the UK. Even in Wales we've hit sort of 33, 34 degrees C, which is heading towards 90 F. It has been a little bit warm, but we've been fine because we live in an incredibly dark, slightly damp house that is semi-sunken into the hillside. So it's been incredibly cool. It's really been very, very pleasant inside, but I've just come out to see how the garden is coping. So the ducks are moving around, so it's obviously cooled down enough for them to be moving about. We have got one that's limping. Yeah, she's right at the back. She's been limping for a few days, but I've checked her and luckily it's not her hip. If it was her hip, the only kind thing to do would be to put her down, but it's not, it's her leg. So I'm just letting her do her thing because it will quietly heal, or I hope it will quietly heal. There she goes. Poor limpy old girl there. But yeah, so they're doing okay. They've spent the whole day up in the shade, up in the shade of the field shelter. They've now come down to get another drink, probably to get something else to eat as well. I am just sitting outside the polytunnel and I am so pleased to be able to show you this. This is an Agapanthus flower. I've had this plant for, I think, 4 years. I'm so delighted that it is now flowering. Isn't that lovely? And then just next to it here are some Alliums. Now these are the bulbs that the ordinary eating onions that I had in the kitchen. They'd started to sprout, so I planted them in a pot, and there we go. I am really pleased that they're flowering. They're so pretty, and you can see that one is cut, and that's because earlier in the week I made a great big bunch of flowers from things I picked in the garden and in the food forest, and I included one of those onions in it. I watered the veg garden very early this morning, so I was out here by about 5 AM and watered all the very leafy veg, and I'm really pleased to say that very little looks like it is well, very little looks like it's really struggling actually. Just a few things look a little bit limp, but nothing has actually kind of just completely fallen over and collapsed. So that's brilliant news. Okay, the same can't be said for the flower garden. There are things there that have got very crispy. The flowers are not a priority, and maybe I should prioritise them because a lot of them are perennials. But given that water is a precious commodity, I want to make sure that I'm using it on food rather on flowers right now. And at a later moment I will concentrate more on the flower garden. But here we go. Lovely view behind me. I am so pleased with this, and I don't often get to kind of just scan around and show you. So let's go for a little wander. I've now got a piece of wood chip in my shoe. Hang on. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Let's have a little walk around and just have a little look at what's going on. So here, turn slowly so that you're not made seasick. So I've got a gate here that is to stop rabbits coming into the veg garden, but I still have to have a piece of wood along the bottom both on the inside and on the outside. So there's one on the inside for when I'm in here, and then I put one back on the gate when I've been through it. So there's a piece on the outside as too. And the rabbits live somewhere in this hedge. They live all over the place, but the particular ones I'm trying to keep out of there live just in this hedging here, and they sit in the mornings laughing at me there. I don't know, they're laughing, but they sit there and and watch me going in and out of the veg garden. Here we go. So down there is where I originally put the veg garden. Realised it was horsefly alley, and the soil was terrible down there, so I moved it to over this way. And in this direction is what will be the cut flower field and prairie style planting, which means that there'll be big drifts of grasses and flowers eventually. And at the moment I've got as far as putting the first section of bunny proof fencing, which I'm just climbing over now. So you can see there's fencing going down there and going round an area that at the moment is about, it's under 1/4 acre. No, actually it might be 1/4 acre or so. Anyway, this area is fenced and I have started planting in here. So Dave and I, Dave who works with me once a week, once a fortnight sort of thing, have a while back built some raised beds. So I'm going to turn slowly. The sun is going to be horribly bright. There we go. So there's the raised beds. Now we actually made 10 of them, but nature has reclaimed the others, and so bit by bit I'm having to go through, put down weed suppressing membrane between the beds, and then putting cardboard in the base of the beds, thick layer of cardboard, wetting that, putting compost on top and planting it up. And these plants haven't had any water on them for a week, so I'm amazed that they're doing so well. I've got some dwarf sunflowers here and hollyhocks, and I've put in a couple of squashes at the end there because, well, why not? Then this bed has got more hollyhocks. Oh, hang on, I'm being nibbled by something. Let's just remove that. So this bed's got hollyhocks, a red lobelia. Well, quite a few of those have either been snapped off or nibbled by something. Now, I'm fairly sure that rabbits can't get in here, but what I have noticed is nearly all my red plants, anything with red leaves, is getting bitten by something. It's getting snapped off and broken. So I have a feeling that possibly some sort of corvid doesn't like red plants, or really does like red plants, depending on how you look at it. I've also put down some weed suppressing membrane. Now this is the heavyweight cornstarch membrane, so it will break down. It takes about 3 years for it to start breaking down, but hasn't got plastics in it, and so I'm very happy that I'm not going to be leaving a massive plastic trail here, but it will reduce the weeds, reduce the competition for the plants. So at the far end is a little cherry tree that I bought. It was about this big. Took it out of the ground in our old place. That's doing okay. And there are some Shasta Daisies which are looking pretty crunchy in the sunshine. And there were 4 cardoons. They are an absolute crisp, so I might have to re-sow those. There's a lot of plants here looking like they're really struggling with they're really struggling with the heat and the dry, but there are some other plants that are doing really well. So there are some Sanguisorbia. They're doing okay. Very happy with that. Mexican sunflower, some of those are doing okay. Some Shasta Daisies are doing all right. So it very much depends on, I think, how long they've already been in here. So how far their roots have got into the soil and can access the moisture lower down. And then the other bed here is turned slowly. So the other raised bed here has got a mixture of lupins and irises and dicentia, which has got a new name now, but bleeding hearts, and then a plant called Garriot. Well, it's got a whole load of perennial flowers in it, and they look like they're kind of doing okay. One of the things that is doing really well in this garden are grasses and docks. So docks have gone to seed. I will get a bag over those seed heads, cut them off before they scatter everywhere. But it is just what happens. It is just what happens when you are trying to garden a really large area. And I'm not entirely on my own, because Mr. J comes and does strimming and helping move stuff if I need to. And Dave, who works for me once a week, does things like strimming, hedge cutting, lawn mowing and things like that. So I'm not climbing over the fence yet again. Not very elegant, but there we go. So I am, I'm not doing this completely on my own, but the majority of creating this garden is me working on my own. I'm not complaining about that. I'm really enjoying creating these large gardens, which will, I hope, support the local wildlife, provide plenty of food for us, our friends, and for the wider community. And I'm loving life. I am just loving life.